So today I just dropped off the stock suspension. Somebody had bought it here in Jersey. Now I'm heading to New York to go pick up the NSX R wing for the car. So decided to go with the aftermarket look. Just like I said earlier, the rear is too flat for my taste. But anyway, this is from the same guy that I purchased the wheels from. He's giving me a sizable discount off of what he was asking for it, simply because
In half a mile, keep right.
because he felt concerned about the fact that he didn't realize that there was an issue with one of the wheels and not sealing properly. So he also had the rear wing for sale, so he decided to give me a break on that. So I am picking it up, and after picking it up, go visit my mom, hang out in New York for a little bit, and visit my brother as well, and head back home and install it. New York Premium, 70 cents cheaper. What the hell? So today we're gonna tackle the install for the NSX R spoiler. And no, it's not gonna be situated like that. I just threw it on top of the existing spoiler just to kind of see or gauge how it's gonna look like. And don't worry about it. That spoiler has double-sided tape and rubber underneath it, so it's not going to be scratching the paint. I just laid it on top of there. So I'm going to go ahead and document the install, just simply because I don't see much as far as postings on how to install the NSX R spoiler. It should be fairly simple. Shouldn't really need one. That's probably mostly why. But I just kind of wanted to just document it on my channel. First thing I'm going to do is remove the decal. It's really not an R, so it doesn't make sense for me to pretend that it's a type R. It's almost like putting GTR badges or doing the whole GTR bumper and spoiler and whatever else to make it GTS Skyline look like a GTR. Or taking a regular Integra and putting a Type R on it, and things of that sort, or making certain things look like they're not supposed to, basically. So yeah, so this is just a decal. So hopefully none of the clear coat on this finish comes off. If it does, I'll just have it re-cleared. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is removing the existing double-sided tape that the previous owner used. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get double-sided tape that's going to run thin enough I can run on the perimeter of that shape, just to avoid from water seeping into the threads and maybe causing some rust or causing some pool of water inside the trunk. So this is just to capture the OE look of the stock spoiler. So this still needs a bit of cleaning to be done on this car, but this, unlike the other cars where you have to remove a panel to get to the spoiler, to access the spoiler mounts, this right here is pretty simple in that it's right as you open the trunk. Just have to remove those bolts, or I mean, sorry, those nuts, and pretty sure they are nuts. And as soon as I get that, I can pry this off. I'm hoping it'll just come off, but I may have to get one of those interior plastic wedges to kind of help it through. And then I believe the wiring is on the driver's side, and it's just a connector to be able to pull out and disconnect. So I got those removed. They do require a 10 millimeter, and as you guys probably noticed, I'm using a piece of wood to prop open the trunk, simply because the struts, the hood struts, I mean the trunk struts, they are shot. So that's another thing that I need to replace. So I was afraid that I would need to use a heat gun to try and kind of split it, but just this tool, you could pretty much find them anywhere. Basically, it's to prevent from scratching any surface. This is basically an interior tool to pull panels and such, but I ended up using this and just a quick pry, gently, and you could probably get away from just doing that because mine just kind of just did that. Let me just raise it. You can see that it's raising already. But some may need to maybe run a tape on here just to prevent from things from being scratched up, and you may need to use a heat gun to kind of pry this piece, because you don't know what the previous owner may have done. This may have done too. They may have added silicone or whatever. But anyway, mine just propped up by using the tool, and get ready to pull her out, and hopefully I can access the wiring and the connector easily and disconnect it. So hopefully this is focusing, but you will need to remove that grommet that you see, this right here, off of this hole to be able to pull this connector out. And what you're going to end up probably, well, in my case, is I don't have a connector for it. Probably I will need to do is just splice into it so that I can use this existing connector, or maybe set it aside, cut it long enough, and just splice directly. But at this point, I think I'm just going to reuse the existing connector and splice it into this wiring. So how she looks without the spoiler. And I'm going to be cleaning this off, maybe put a layer of wax on it just to keep it clean. That's almost 30 years worth of grime, and get that done and do the wiring. So there's a bit more cleaning that I have to do. This is residue from whatever silicone or whatever rubber glue that was on the previous spoiler, so I got to get that out of the way first. And also I may have to cut that strip of double-sided tape thinner if I want to go around this, around the perimeter of this area, because the actual distance, especially here, is pretty thin. So yeah, don't worry about this. This is just a quick detail, whether it's off the shelf, and I will end up giving her a further clean. She's kind of filthy right now. So I got the area all cleaned up from whatever adhesive that was on it. So for you guys to see the difference between the stock spoiler on the right and the NSX Type R on the left. So maybe if you can see the height difference of the two, maybe that's a good comparison right there. There's something soothing about doing something like this. And it's coming up fairly easily too, and cleanly. So I don't have to use any of the adhesive removers on these, which is great. So as soon as I get these all cleaned off on both sides, like I said before, I'm going to, on the perimeter, add the double-sided tape. This way it'll protect from water getting into any of these threads and into the spoiler. So I went ahead and spliced the wiring and reconnected it. So just make sure though that when you're doing this work, that you don't let this sucker, the connector inside the trunk, drop in, because it's hard to kind of fish it out. It should be simple, but you don't want to have to go through that hassle. So again, like I said before, the pure red, and I'm pretty sure this is a Sibon spoiler. So what you'll find is the pure red wiring is actually goes to the green and white, and the black goes onto the wiring that has the black stripe on it. So we'll go ahead and test it. I threw it on a blanket because I don't have anybody to kind of help me look in the rear. So I just threw it on the blanket upside down, connected it just to see if it'll work. So see if maybe we can. All right, let me see if I can do this. Oh, that's the clutch. There you go. Oh, success. So looks good. So now I'm going to pull it out and do this right. Essentially get a heat shrink and kind of slide it in here before I connect that, and somehow get maybe the outlet is far from here, but I'll just get an extension cord to get the heat gun. Got to do it right. I'm not going to use electric tape. So just as an FYI, I use 12 for the stock wiring and 16 for the aftermarket. Okay, so I got the double-sided tape on. Just got to peel it right before I install it. I got the wiring done, put a heat shrink on it, so it looks a little better. And yeah, so I got it bolted. Took a little bit of time. You got to be careful with the threads because, I mean, as nice as the piece is, I don't believe the bolts, actually the threaded holes aren't 100%, so you got to be careful not to strip it. I believe the previous owner did strip the driver's side more towards the taillight, so it's kind of just spinning, so it kind of sucks. So I got to figure out a way to try and resolve that, but this is how she's looking. I'm actually kind of digging it. So apologize for the lighting, but it's winter or fall here and it gets dark real quick. But anyway, so first impression, the gap here is a lot wider than that of the driver's side. So it's pretty clear that it's nice and tight heat on this side, but it's somewhat of a bigger gap on here. And also, it's not as flush with the tails. I don't know if you guys can see a little bit of this area right here where I don't know if I can focus. So this kind of protrudes out just a tad bit, where on the driver's side, it's actually in line. So, I mean, overall, I guess it's not too bad. It is a replica. It's not the real NSX R tails, but something like that I really can't afford. So this will do for now, and actually gives it a bit more of an aggressive look, and I'm pretty happy with it. So removed the decals, looks much better now, and did the same thing with the other side. Didn't really do anything with the finish, it was just the decal, so she's all good. Yeah, hit the brakes. All right, cool. Thanks.